Welcome to the Relationship Workout for Men podcast. This episode is just a preview of what you'll find in the full Relationship Fitness for Men program. If you're serious about building a stronger, happier relationship, check out relationshipfitness.com to access all episodes, plus tools to assess and improve the quality of your relationship and your very own on-demand and private AI relationship coach. Visit relationshipfitness.com to learn more.
Welcome to Relationship Workout for Men, a podcast dedicated to helping men be intentional in choosing a better partner and being a better partner to the person they choose. Season 22, Emotional Alchemy, Turning Trauma into Connection. I'm here today speaking with Dr. Rivka Edery, a highly respected psychologist deeply committed to advancing mental wellness and guiding individuals through the intricate journey of trauma recovery. We're in episode 1, the 1% Relationship Skill Challenge. In this episode, we'll discuss how all relationships have room for improvement. So when two people have non-aligning needs, can they move closer by making a 1% change? So welcome, Rivka, and what do you think about this topic?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And it's a great topic because it makes relationship improvement so much more manageable and sustainable. You know, when you offer a couple the opportunity to change something only 1%, it's so much easier to be encouraged as a couple. So a couple comes into, counseling and their marriage is on the cliff, as I often reference it, and they feel extremely overwhelmed and burdened, and they don't know where to begin. And by offering the 1% rule, you're offering so much hope because it's actually manageable. It sounds really small and insignificant, 1%, but that small, consistent effort over time is quite powerful. So let's see how it works. Imagine your partner does or doesn't do something that really bugs you. Maybe it just seems really illogical, annoying, repetitive. Now, conversely, there's probably something you do or don't do that your partner finds equally perplexing or annoying. Apply the 1% rule. Focus on making a small positive change, just 1% in your behavior related to that issue. For example, aim to be 1% more punctual if you're always late. If your partner dislikes how you leave dirty dishes in the sink, try to be 1% better at cleaning up after yourself. If communication is challenging, actively listen and respond 1% more attentively. These seemingly minor adjustments can create a ripple effect and transform your relationship. And part of that ripple effect and transforming of your relationship is you start to feel better about yourself. You're starting to buzz with more positive feelings. Every time you get that positive reaction from your partner, that appreciation, that noticing, you may suddenly want to up it from 1% to 3%. You may find yourself just naturally wanting to do better at that. And it starts and with that 1%, and let's see why it matters. The 1% rule isn't about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about being more present, appreciative, and kind. By taking responsibility for your part and considering the impact of your actions and words, you contribute to a healthier dynamic. When one person consistently makes a 1% effort, the relationship can improve by 100% over time. Remember, it's not about changing your partner. It's about changing yourself slightly to enhance the connection. And while we're on this topic, we want to make sure that we mention avoiding one-sidedness. Communicate openly about your 1% changes and expectations. divide roles and responsibilities in a way that feels fair to both of you. Address any unbalanced situations promptly to prevent resentment. And when both partners contribute to their 1%, notice how the relationship thrives. So, embrace the 1% challenge. The small steps lead to lasting transformation. Vince, I hope I just answered your question.
Yeah, I love the kind of the small steps as opposed to the grand, let's try to fix everything at one time. And I can see how, if let's say the issue that I'm doing is I'm playing video games for 4 hours a day, and so my 1% change is maybe I only play them for 3.5 hours, or I can limit that and then spend that extra 30 minutes doing something that my wife likes. How do I apply this if it's a behavioral thing? Like personally, I really struggle when I'm upset. I go right into the silent treatment. It's really a struggle for me. How would you recommend I do, if it's a behavioral change, apply this 1% rule?
That's a great question. And it's a great question because it's actually how the human mind works, and it's how human behavior works. We can say, okay, I love this concept, this 1%, I'm down with it. But I get into a fight with my wife, as you're saying, or maybe you get insulted or you get scared or shut down. So how do we apply the 1%? Imagine that you commit to right as you notice you're shutting down, your 1% involves noticing and naming that you're starting to shut down. And on purpose and intentionally, take 3 deep breaths, look at your wife and say, I notice that I'm starting to shut down. I'm going to take 3 deep breaths, or take the 3 deep breaths and then go do what you do when you shut down. So a 1%, a tiny little change would be notice a name that you're shutting down, maybe even call it out loud. This is what it feels like. Maybe the shame gremlins have taken over, or the big giant green fear monster. You can get playful with how you refer to what's happening when you're shutting down. Compassionate, playful. Your 1% might look like noticing and naming and giving your wife a heads up. Taking 3 deep breaths. What's that?
That's fascinating. And so apply that to if I'm getting defensive, which I think a lot of guys struggle with. The wife is trying to communicate a need of hers, and in response, the guy gets defensive. So how do I apply the 1% rule there?
Okay, great. So I love that, because it's so typical. So your questions are very applicable. And what I would say with the defensiveness is that 1% would be notice and name what part of you might be taking over the living room, so to speak. So when we get defensive, is it the inner teenager? Is it the tough guy? Is it the little boy that was shamed so much by an alcoholic father that he just assumes he's going to be the guilty one, guilty as charged? Is the shutting down or the defensiveness in this case a gearing up for battle that's not the same battle of where it originated from? So, and that's something for you or any other man to do when you're in a bit of a calmer state. So get to know the parts of you that possess you, so to speak, that take over the living room. So if this scared little boy who was shamed regularly is the one that takes over the living room, get to know him before you're in a fight, before you're about to get defensive. And the 1% might look like, I'm going to tune in and see if I could find that part of me that's taking over right now. And then take that mindfulness minute. Could just be 1 minute. Your 1% could be 1 minute. If you can't do a minute, boil it down to 1 second. Just pause oh, I'm seeing that 3-year-old. That's it. And then do whatever, if you can walk away, take 3 breaths, take 5 breaths, commit to something before you're going to put the gloves on. So I'm referencing gloves on as defensiveness. Take that minute, locate the part, take 3 deep breaths, and just tune into that part of you that gets defensive. Maybe ask a question, hey, where do you come from? Because you weren't here 10 minutes ago. My wife and I were on the couch enjoying, movie on popcorn. Everything was calm. And she said, you didn't mow the lawn well. And now I'm ready to duke it out. So where'd you come from? And see if this part can tell you its story. And it doesn't have to be all at once, but if you can take that 1% to tune in and ask and inquire, you're already starting to dial down heading into the boxing ring. You may rethink heading into the boxing ring, and don't judge feeling defensive or feeling angry. Let that be. Just use your focus, your 1% energy to tune into that part of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would think that I loved how you said in a quieter moment, think about who that person is you go to when you become defensive. I think for me, it's my 10-year-old self. But I think the other important part, correct me if I'm wrong, is communicating that to your partner, saying that this is the 1% I'm going to do when I'm feeling defensive. And from what you suggested, it could simply be, I feel like my 10-year-old self coming out right now.
Oh, excellent.
That could be it, I guess.
Oh, that's excellent. Yep. And then I would recommend with that is try it out. It's not set in stone. See if it works. The next time you get into that defensiveness and you pause and you tell your wife, that 10-year-old's coming out. I'm feeling it in my chest. I'm feeling it. My breathing's getting shorter. I'm feeling that anger, right? Now, see if that helps. If that helps reduce the defensiveness and bridge that communication, then you pop that tool in your toolbox.
Perfect.
If it doesn't, you tweak it, right?
Right. I love it. We're going to wrap there. I'm going to apply the 1% rule starting today. So thank you so much. In the next episode, we're going to switch gears a little bit and understand attachment styles for men. I'm really looking forward to this episode as well. Thank you very much, Rivka, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much. A pleasure.
Thanks for listening. To listen to all episodes in this season, visit relationshipfitness.com. There, you'll find not only a complete library of episodes, but also aligned playbook articles, tools designed to help you assess, improve, and manage the quality of your relationship, and your very own AI relationship coach to get private, on-demand coaching whenever you need it. Go to relationshipfitness.com to start transforming your relationship today for more fun and less drama.